Good morning, everybody. We know the last thing you need is another fitness podcast to catch you up on the newest trends, fad diets, and fictitious fat-blasting workouts that will be dead in the coming decade. Enter us, myself, Tony, Marianna on the other end. We made Fitness Stuff for Normal People podcast to make exercise and nutrition science practical. Our goal is to expose misinformation in the industry by providing only evidence-based education, where today we are quickly jumping on the trend that is Pilates that we are seeing on the internet that has been around for decades, but continues popping up. So Miss Marianna is going to lead us through. Marianna, how are you?
I'm doing great. I woke up this morning and realized that I'm going on my 1 month anniversary since I quit my job and became self-employed.
That makes me so happy to hear.
If you are thinking about quitting your job, have something else that you've been called to and want to do it, don't think twice about it and do it.
Do it. Shia LaBeouf, do it. Okay. So Marianna actually sent me some video. She said we need to jump on this ASAP. So we're going to pull up the video she sent me. It has been every other video, I feel like, on Fit Talk lately has been about Pilates. We're going to dissect what's true, what's untrue, why, and if it's worth doing.
I get tagged in these at least 10 times a day, and I covered it once, but didn't do it justice, so here we are. We'll put it on the screen. If you're listening, we'll explain it after, but we are on YouTube too, so you can go watch us there. All right.
No, I don't think you understand.
So it says, Pilates for 2 weeks has changed my body more than lifting weights for a year. I'm shook. That's essentially the whole conversation, is how I went from weightlifting to Pilates, and I'm finally seeing results. I've been weightlifting. I've never seen the results I wanted. And after a couple weeks, a month of doing Pilates and no weightlifting, I finally lost weight and I'm lean.
In just 2 weeks. So you sent this to me because, can we agree, this is like every other trend that usually pops up in the working out training side of things. It says if you've never made progress before doing what you're supposed to be doing, this will give you progress. Same thing here. I've been lifting weights for a year. 2 weeks gave me more progress than that entire time. What claims are being made about Pilates that have been resurfacing more recently, outside of just being better than XYZ?
There's really this heightened focus on Pilates building these long, lean lines. And you have a lot of the spokespeople for Pilates, either Victoria's Secret models or ballet dancers, and that's how it started to get really popular, is Victoria's Secret started documenting the models' training. And they, of course, were always at the gym doing a little bit of strength training, a lot of interval training, but really there was this huge focus on their Pilates workout and taking them through that, doing the reformer Pilates. And you see everyone in these studios is so lean. And that's where the craze started. And then you have reformer Pilates, which is with the machine. And it's all about low impact exercise, reducing your cortisol.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, how weightlifting increases your cortisol. And that's why you can't lose weight. And Pilates, because it's low impact, doesn't chronically raise your cortisol. So you're able to lose weight. The issue is if your cortisol is too high, you're not recovering properly and you're overtraining. That doesn't just happen from lifting weights. That
makes sense if you don't think about it.
Yeah, because you're lifting heavy and it's intense, and then Pilates is no weights and it's slow. So naturally, of course, it's not going to raise your cortisol and weightlifting.
So that one is a big one because it makes me laugh. It seems like one of those where if you're explaining it to someone who's never been in this kind of industry before, it connects dots. But okay, do they know what cortisol is? Can they define any of those words? No. So first, can you explain, just if anyone's not out there super familiar with Pilates, they've heard the term before, essentially take us through what an average Pilates class looks like a little bit. And then I want to pick back on that Victoria's Secret thing, because that actually was super interesting to me.
Pilates is very, very unique. It takes some principles of yoga and that breathing technique of really breathing through every movement, which is why it's really great to kind of slow down your central nervous system, relax, connect with your body, unwind a bit. And that's why I've always loved it. And it's also challenging. You really can't put it even in comparison to resistance training because they are so incredibly different. And I wanted to touch on the lengthening aspect of it. Melissa Wood Health is a very popular online Pilates instructor. She's awesome, but it's always build these long, lean lines, elongate your body. You'll look like ballerinas and models. Well, actually, it's physically impossible to lengthen a muscle without surgery. So a lot of women will go in it with the unpopular perception, I would say, of having these false assumptions of what you're going to look like after doing something. Then it's just anatomically incorrect because you cannot lengthen your muscle. Your skeletal muscle attaches to bone or sometimes muscle and tissue at 2 or more places. If the bone, if it remains immobile for an action, that attachment is called the origin. So that part of the muscle is not moving. If the place is on the bone that moves during the action, that's called the insertion. So you have these 2 fixed points, sometimes it may be 2 or 3. It doesn't allow you to elongate.
And this reminds me a lot of the same myth of toning a muscle versus bulking. You can't fundamentally change the length or the shape of a muscle outside of just increasing or decreasing its size.
Yeah.
You can't. The cool thing is where that came from. I mean, they're starting out, they are models. So they have a certain body type that makes them excel in that kind of world. Just like any athletes have larger frames typically, can hold larger muscle. They had a better frame to suit modeling, that longer look. But they also had a very well-rounded training program in cardio, in strength training, in Pilates. It seems like it was almost like they just turned the camera to Pilates and they said, this is why they look like this.
Yeah. It's a terrible thing that our society has rooted in us, but you automatically associate this workout with this body type. When you think about the history of Pilates and how it started, is the founder of Pilates, when he started his first big studio in New York, was right next to, I think it was like New York City Ballet. So his first big client base was all ballerinas. And it is naturally such a great exercise for ballerinas because you are really having that mind to muscle connection, working your smaller muscles, those slow movements to connect with your body was really good for ballerinas. And now there's this picture of being long and lean and doing Pilates and really not taking into account the fact that genetic predispositions and the populations of people that do this, not to mention reformer Pilates is extremely expensive. Yeah. So you're in an already health conscious population. What do they have access to in terms of food? Yeah. How often are they elsewhere throughout the day?
This kind of reminds me of just a little preset. Marianna and I share a man crush on someone named James Smith. This seems like almost identical to the swimmer's body illusion, which if you didn't hear about it, one, go check James out. He kind of broke through this idea of a swimmer's body illusion, which is when people are starting to work out, they want to get healthier, they start looking at what their desired physique looks like. They look at bodybuilders and they say, you know what, they're lifting weights all the time. They're too big and too bulky. I don't want to look like that. But then they look at cyclists or people who run, marathon runners, and they say, that's a little too brittle, too thin. And they find a swimmer and they say, oh, they're lean, they're long, they have low body fat, they have some muscle. I want to look like that. I'm going to start swimming. But then 3-4 months goes by, they're swimming every single day and they don't look like that. And it's the swimmer's body illusion. The swimmers don't look like that because they swim. They swim because they look like that. That different people, this is perfect for athletes, for ballerinas, for models. Like we were just saying, models don't look like models because they model. They model because they look the way they do. Yeah. Right.
And they also work hard to keep up with that. It's not to say that you don't work hard, but genetics play a huge role.
Exactly. But how your frame specifically is set up makes you trend to be better or worse at certain activities. Why football players just have larger frames, wider shoulders, so they can hold on to more muscle mass. Your frame overall is largely what determines how much muscle mass an individual can hold. So if you have a larger frame, you're going to hold more lean body mass. Swimmers, being longer, have longer limbs to propel them through the water. Ballerinas, being lengthier, being more petite, more thin, can do those movements better than someone with a larger frame. I would be trash if I was a ballerina, if I practiced for the next 10 years. My body's not set up like that. It sounds like that same exact illusion of people seeing the models, the people who we idolize in society.
Or the lean people on TikTok who you don't know what else they're doing.
Exactly. Let's talk about this, because I know nutrition plays a huge role, and for some reason none of these videos mention that. Shocking. The girl especially, I've seen more progress in the last 2 weeks doing Pilates than a year in weight training. Why do you think she saw that?
Well, there are so many factors that could play into this. And again, Pilates could help you see progress as one tiny component for so many different reasons. Everyone responds differently to exercise and nutrition. So to say that this is going to apply to the next person is just so not true. Nutrition is such a huge component. There's so many things that go into it. If you felt like you weren't seeing any progress at all, or you didn't have the proper training program that allowed you to progressively overload your muscles and didn't make you overtrained and fatigued and feel like you couldn't perform your best, and you weren't paying attention to nutrition. Or maybe your body responds better to low intensity exercise because it allows you to be more mindful about your food intake. It allows you to sleep a little bit better. It worked for you, so you're more mindful about other things in your life. And if you do something with intent that you enjoy, you are going to do other things with intent that you enjoy. There are so many things that go into it. And that's just such a big issue of not having that conversation and making it seem like X caused Y, which we all know that's just not true, but it spreads like freaking wildfire.
Progress takes time. I don't want to discredit the results that you do see in 2 weeks, but just know most of the change that you would see in a 2-week period isn't coming from what you want. If you've been weight training for a year with no progress, I'm going to guess that your intensity, your consistency, your overall lifestyle probably started falling off more and more and more as the months went on that you didn't see progress. You're like, okay, this doesn't work. So you start eating differently. You don't pay attention. You skip 2 or 3 days at the gym a week, whatever it is. And then starting a new trend, usually people are more motivated when they start something like Pilates. So maybe she cut out alcohol, started drinking more water, started walking more, doing that consistently. It's like, oh, maybe she dropped 3 or 4 pounds in just sheer water weight, right? Water retention. She started bloating a little bit less and she's been active. So her body just responds composition wise, at least in the mirror, a lot better in 2 weeks. That doesn't mean she gained more than a quarter pound of muscle in 2 weeks. You can't, especially being a female, you definitely can't. You can't lose more than a couple pounds of actual body fat in a couple weeks. So we know the massive change that she talked about seeing wasn't really as massive as meaningful progress as she thought. Or it's progress, but it wasn't that meaningful progress that sticks.
After doing Pilates, people say they feel so much better in their body, they look leaner, they're more toned, and it is just so not possible, one, for that to happen in 2 weeks, but really the biggest thing that Pilates does is increases your stretch tolerance, so your flexibility. It increases your range of motion, and there's a growing body of research that shows it has little to do with the lengthening of the muscles, but the changes take place in your central nervous system. So the changes are in your perception and tolerance of the stretch sensation, because those are the primary movements. That's what you get from Pilates. And it is a lot of stretching, which decreases our brain and nervous system's perception of the threat by increasing our stretch tolerance. So this allows you to get a deeper stretch before triggering like any danger of, oh, I'm stretching too far, which can make a huge difference in how your whole body is feeling, especially if you were tight all the time from weightlifting, you felt sore, maybe you had some imbalances, and Pilates really does help work on that. And it's a great way to stretch and improve flexibility and range of motion.
Which also probably increases like blood flow. And like you said, if you're just a constantly just tight individual, you have a lot of tight muscle, and now you are more flexible, more stretch resistant. I don't think people realize how good, I mean, go stretch for 10 minutes right now. I guarantee you right afterwards, if you just do your hamstrings, your glutes, your lower back and your chest, you're going to be like, holy cow, I feel really good right now. So it is incredible. The research I looked up coming into the episode, it did show that even Pilates increases functional mobility even more than yoga does, which I think is really cool because it seems like a more functional style of yoga. It's still focused on
because of those
breathing.
isometric movements.
So I'm going to ask you this because I already think it could easily deserve a place inside of someone's program because of those benefits alone. Because that's another big thing. We're not just dismantling like, oh my God, Pilates is a piece of poop. Never do it. No, it's got these great things.
Yeah.
Just, again, setting realistic expectations. When do you think someone should add Pilates into their program? And what expectations should they have from that?
I'll give just a few examples from some of my clients that I program Pilates in 1 or 2 days a week. Is especially great for people who are new to weightlifting, resistance training, and their goals aren't really high up there in terms of hypertrophy and strength gains. It's really for a functionality perspective, and also maybe they have some goals in terms of being a little bit leaner. But programming Pilates into maybe a 3-day training program with resistance training, so it'd be like having 1 day of Pilates in there can be so helpful for helping increase that range of motion, your flexibility when you are learning these movements, and also with proprioception. I mean, explaining a deadlift to someone and how to do it, a lot of it comes from explaining what you're feeling, where you feel it in a lot of exercises, but deadlift is the first one that comes to my head, especially with beginners. And in Pilates, you really connect to those muscles and you learn a little bit more about what it should feel like when they're engaged. And then also for an experienced weightlifter who maybe has some muscle imbalances, favors one side or the other, feels a lot of soreness, a lot of tension, let's get mat Pilates in there 1 or 2 days a week, and let's help increase your range of motion, flexibility. It's also great for premenopausal women because of that low intensity.
I think that's huge. So people, again, obsessing over a trend doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's not a yes or no. Fitness and health, there's hardly any black and white.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of gray like this, right? It has incredible benefits for you.
Yep.
Same things with stuff like yoga, right? For most people that have body composition change goals, should it be the focus of their program? Probably not. But could it easily bleed in to help multiple other areas of their life, their training program, their recovery, their progress? Yeah. Big time.
I just think it's funny how we cycle between trends, and we will, as a society, accept something to not be true, and then all of a sudden use different language, and it's true again in terms of weightlifting makes women bulky. I thought we got rid of that, and it's back again. It makes me sad for young men and women, but it also is just like these people just feeding into it.
I think the best example, and this is just the silly part of what gets the limelight and what doesn't, go to Instagram, search #GirlsWhoLift, and you're going to see thousands of realistic photos of people who look like the Pilates look, the yoga look, the cardio, whatever. You're going to find thousands of people who look like that through weight training the exact same way. It's just that the focus is, oh, what's the new viral video that's in front of my face right now? I'm going to connect those dots.
If someone were to ask me, hey, does weightlifting, is it going to make me bulky? I would really tell them, one, it depends on your body type. It largely depends on your genetic makeup, what you're going to look like, how much muscle mass you can put on, how your body responds to strength training. So we don't know yet. And then how easily your body builds muscle mass, the amount and type of food you're putting into your body on a regular basis. Your hormones, your recovery techniques, the type and amount of weight you are lifting.
By far the biggest thing too is, two people, especially if you're trying to lose weight, the only way you're going to gain bulky muscle is if you're eating to gain bulky muscle. If you're eating the same calorie deficit, same macro split, same exact way that you would if you were doing cardio to lose weight, your body's going to lose weight.
This may be controversial to say, but like the way you look and how you put on muscle mass, where you prefer to put on fat is so different. Like, why would you look at someone who, one, is not you, and two, just has a completely different genetic makeup? Why would you think that's going to happen? I think about choosing to exercise and choosing to eat healthy. So many people don't even start doing it because they have fears of, one, failure or what they might look like or how they want to look, and don't think they can get there, or what might happen because of what someone else said. No one ever got anywhere by just living in their fears.
No.
And just our society perpetuates those fears in the form of making you think you have to look a certain way, or something is going to make you look a certain way.
Comparison is not only a losing game, it's just not a logical game to play.
Yeah.
Because if you actually break it down with, again, your genetic profile, your frame, your response to these different stimulus, it doesn't make sense to compare to somebody else. It's not that it's just going to lead you upset over and over again. It just doesn't make sense to.
And it makes people question the wrong thing. If you've noticed you're not having the results that you're looking for, that work isn't nothing. There's just something missing. There might just be a small little change there.
How many times do you hear that where people are like, you know what, I just started walking 30 minutes after work each day. And over the last year, I lost 40 pounds. That small little change, right? I just walked.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that walking is the greatest thing in the world. No. It just means that was the one piece missing from them. Oh, for others. Oh, I just started eating a little bit more protein with each meal. And I lost 30 pounds. It's one piece of the puzzle. So, I like that.
Yeah.
If you're working hard, you're feeling frustrated, don't quit.
You're always learning about yourself, and your body is changing often. And this is a trend that is primarily targeted towards women. And our bodies are changing so often. You should just want to learn about yourself and what works for you.
Any final notes on?
It's great to do. There's so many benefits for your body, but it was not founded on do this to look a certain way. It was really to connect your mind to your body. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's just about your intention. Do everything with intention, and the intention shouldn't be externally motivated.
You should get that tattooed. That's beautifully put. All right, let's wrap that. We'll put a bow on it. So, Marianna, where can people find us?
You can find us on Instagram and TikTok, fs.pod. We also just started a Twitter. That will also be linked in the show notes. And then we also have a YouTube, fitness stuff for normal people, so you could watch us there. And make sure you can also follow Tony and I on TikTok and Instagram, Marianna's Pantry, Train Bloom.
So go find us. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you all have a productive day. If productive to you means chilling, taking a break, relaxing, recovering, then that's a productive day to you.
Yes.
Have a productive day to whatever standard that means for you, what you need. And we will see you all next time.
Next time.
Love you. Bye.